Picture a document sealed deep inside a vault, hidden within the heavy stone walls of Kensington Palace. It's just a single sheet of paper, yet it holds the weight of 1,000 years of history. At the top sits an official royal seal. At the bottom, a conclusion powerful enough to shake the very foundation of the British monarchy as we know it. 5 words that have echoed through palace corridors and ignited the internet. No Windsor blood detected. For years, the world has watched the divide between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the royal family widen into something far deeper than a simple disagreement. But while headlines fixate on bruised egos and Megxit, something far more calculated and unsettling has allegedly been unfolding behind closed doors. A storm built on secret forensic testing, late-night meetings, and a biological mystery tied directly to the line of succession. This story doesn't begin in California. It starts in a quiet, tense room in London. Reports from deep-level palace insiders claim that during one of Harry's brief, almost unnoticed visits to the UK, a private summit took place. It wasn't the emotional reunion many had hoped for. King Charles, burdened by his own health struggles and the pressure of a transitional reign, reportedly faced his son with more than just conversation. He came prepared with a file. According to rumors, the king has grown tired of uncertainty, tired of ongoing disputes over security funding and the continued debate surrounding the titles of Archie and Lilibet. This wasn't a meeting between father and son. It was one between monarch and subject. And during that meeting, the king allegedly revealed something that brought the discussion to an abrupt halt, proof suggesting that the long-hidden truths about the Sussex children had finally surfaced. But to understand why such proof would even be necessary, we have to go back to where it all begins. Royal births have never truly been private. In fact, historically, they were almost uncomfortably public. Centuries ago, high-ranking officials would literally be present in the room during a royal birth to ensure no deception, no substitute child secretly brought in. It may sound medieval, but the reasoning was simple. The crown belongs to the bloodline, and that bloodline must be verified. In modern times, that tradition evolved. Princess Diana and Catherine, Princess of Wales, followed a more contemporary version, the iconic hospital step appearance. Just hours after giving birth, the child is presented to the world. Doctors sign official documents, and the line of succession is publicly, visually confirmed. Then came Meghan. The birth of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor in May 2019 marked a break from that long-standing pattern. Something felt different. The timeline raised eyebrows. Announcements of labor came hours after the birth had already taken place. The expected photo opportunity was declined. Instead, the public received a tightly controlled, softly lit appearance at St. George's Hall 2 days later. Harry held the baby in a way that concealed most details. Meghan appeared distant, her gaze rarely connecting with the child. To many, it looked like a couple simply choosing privacy. But to royal observers, it was the beginning of a much larger question. The absence of an officially witnessed birth certificate signed by royal doctors created a void, and in the digital age, voids rarely stay empty for long. That void gave rise to what became known as the moon bump theory. For years, skeptics circulated clips and high-resolution images where Meghan's pregnancy shape appeared to shift or fold unnaturally when she moved or sat. Observers pointed to noticeable differences. One day a prominent bump, the next noticeably smaller. While many explained this as normal variations caused by clothing, posture, or camera angles, others began to take the speculation further. Much further. Some started discussing the idea of reborn dolls, hyperrealistic props. A theory suggesting that during early public appearances, Archie and Lilibet might not have been present at all, replaced instead by lifelike stand-ins while the real children remained out of sight. It sounds like something out of a psychological thriller. Yet, The lack of independent medical verification from the UK's Royal Medical Team made even the most extreme theories seem possible to some. And if the children weren't born in the traditional way, then where did they come from? This is where the story dives into its deepest and most controversial territory, the so-called JG surrogate files. Within obscure royal forums and alleged insider leaks, one name continues to surface: a woman in her early 30s, referred to only as JG. The claim is that an American surrogacy agency was used to carry the Sussex children under an extraordinary level of secrecy, one that rivals intelligence operations. Allegations include non-disclosure agreements lasting up to 30 years and payments reportedly exceeding $750,000, said to be routed through shell companies and non-profit channels tied to the Archwell Foundation. According to these claims, the surrogate lived in near total isolation, under constant monitoring, and never had direct contact with the supposed biological parents. Now, surrogacy itself is neither unusual nor illegal. In many parts of the world, it's a widely accepted and celebrated option. But within the framework of the British monarchy, it becomes a constitutional complication. Under the Act of Settlement, 1701, and the updated Succession to the Crown Act, 2013, a royal child must be born of the body of the royal spouse to qualify for succession. This isn't just tradition, it's law. If a surrogate were used, then regardless of DNA, the child would not be eligible to inherit the throne. And this is what makes the alleged No Windsor Blood document so explosive. If King Charles truly possesses forensic evidence showing that the children lack a biological connection to the House of Windsor, or were not physically born by the Duchess, then, legally speaking, Archie and Lilibet would be considered private citizens. Their royal titles would be invalid, and their positions in the line of succession would disappear instantly. Since Harry's move to California, whispers of secret DNA testing have only intensified. Some claim that the Royal Protocol Office, a discrete entity within the palace responsible for handling sensitive legal matters, initiated forensic analysis using hair samples or objects the children may have touched during rare visits to the UK. Leaked reports allegedly suggest that key chromosomal markers associated with the Windsor lineage were absent. If such claims were ever proven in a court of law, the result wouldn't just be scandal, it would be a constitutional crisis unlike anything seen since the abdication of Edward VIII. It would imply that every official record, every letter patent, and every pound of public funding allocated to the prince and princess was built on a fundamental falsehood. But the question remains, why would Harry and Meghan take such a gamble? Some believe the answer lies in the commercialization of their lives. Since relocating to Montecito, the Sussexes have shifted from working royals to media figures. They secured massive deals with Netflix and Spotify worth tens of millions. Their entire brand still leans heavily on their royal identity, yet at the same time, they insist on complete privacy for their children. It's a contradiction that hasn't sat well with the British public. Critics argue that the children's titles are being leveraged as part of a broader brand strategy, while the children themselves are kept hidden to avoid scrutiny that could potentially expose the truth about their origins. Even in the 2022 Netflix documentary, the glimpses of the children were limited, soft-focused, artistic, and tightly controlled. To skeptics, this wasn't about protection, it was about concealment. Then there's the financial dimension. The sovereign grant, public funding that supports the monarchy, has long been a sensitive issue within UK Parliament. If even the slightest doubt exists about the legitimacy of a royal heir, then the allocation of taxpayer money becomes a serious legal and ethical concern. There are whispers that confidential discussions have already taken place between the King's senior advisors and constitutional experts, preparing for the possibility that the Sussex children could be formally removed from official records. This goes far beyond family tension. It touches the credibility of the British state itself. If the No Windsor Blood file truly exists, then the King's role shifts dramatically. He's no longer just a father safeguarding his legacy. He becomes more like a CEO addressing a compromised division within an institution. The tension appeared to reach a boiling point during Christmas 2021. After a long period of silence, the Sussexes released a holiday card that included Lilibet for the first time. Instead of calming speculation, it intensified it. Image analysts pointed out what they claimed were signs of heavy editing, odd shadows, inconsistencies, and digital artifacts around the baby's features. Some even suggested the child didn't match the expected age. Professional photographers, of course, note that lighting, exposure, and post-production can easily create such effects. But the information gap left by the Sussexes meant that public trust was already fragile. Every detail was scrutinized, every pixel examined for signs of manipulation. But what if the secrecy isn't about DNA at all? What if it's something far more human, a struggle over identity? Meghan has spoken candidly about the pressure she faced within the UK media, including sensitive discussions about race and reported concerns from within the royal family about Archie's skin tone. Some believe that the secrecy surrounding the children isn't rooted in deception, but in a desire to shield them from a system they view as deeply flawed. Yet, within the structure of the monarchy, visibility is not optional. You cannot claim the privileges of a 1,000-year-old institution while rejecting its core principles of transparency and lineage. The crown demands both heritage and accountability. As King Charles continues his reign, the Sussex situation lingers like a shadow over the palace. There are 3 potential paths forward, and none come without consequences. The first is continued silence. The palace could maintain its current stance, ignoring the rumors in hopes they eventually fade. But history has shown that the internet rarely forgets. Silence doesn't erase speculation. It often amplifies it. Over time, theories begin to solidify into perceived truth, eroding public confidence in the monarchy itself. If the king won't clarify matters concerning his own grandchildren, why should the public trust the institution at all? The second option is controlled disclosure. This could involve releasing limited documentation, perhaps redacted birth certificates or an official statement from attending physicians. Such a move would likely silence many of the ongoing theories instantly. However, it also opens a dangerous door. If the royal family responds to online pressure once, it sets a precedent. Would they then be expected to provide DNA verification for every future royal birth? It risks sacrificing privacy and empowering the most invasive corners of the media. The third path is the most extreme: parliamentary intervention. If credible allegations were to emerge, perhaps from a whistleblower within a surrogacy agency or a former insider, Parliament could step in. Under succession laws, they hold the authority to revoke titles and remove individuals from the line of succession. Such a scenario would unleash a legal storm, public hearings, forensic investigations, and intense scrutiny. It would likely dismantle the Sussex brand entirely. At the same time, it would drag the monarchy into political territory, something King Charles is keen to avoid at all costs. What followed next may have surprised many, but the signs had been there all along. Look closely. The delayed updates on the royal website, the subtle omissions of the children from official anniversary posts. The palace communicates in quiet, calculated ways. It doesn't issue statements to counter every rumor. Instead, it subtly rewrites the narrative by omission. The alleged private meeting in London may have served as a final warning. According to reports, the king told Harry that the file would remain sealed, for now. But that silence comes with a price: complete separation. No state-funded security, no financial support, and a gradual distancing from the royal institution. Meanwhile, the Sussexes appear to be doubling down. Their recent projects focus heavily on storytelling and controlling their narrative. They are working to shape a reality where their version of events takes center stage. But rewriting history is never simple. especially when that history is tied to DNA, law, and centuries of tradition. The mystery surrounding Archie and Lilibet isn't just another tabloid headline. It's a case study in what happens when an ancient institution collides with the modern digital world. It's the clash between a family built on lineage and a couple driven by branding. In the end, we may never actually see the so-called No Windsor Blood document ourselves, but its ripple effects seem visible everywhere. You can sense it in the growing distance between Harry and William. You can see it in the king's restrained, almost somber expressions whenever questions about his California-based grandchildren arise. And most of all, you notice it in the children themselves, arguably the most famous unknown figures in the world. Whether they are victims of an enormous global smear campaign or central to what could be the most significant royal deception in modern history, one thing feels inevitable: the truth about their birth will eventually surface. Because within the House of Windsor, secrets rarely stay buried, no matter how thick the palace walls may be. The real question is, when that truth emerges, what happens next? Will it be the Sussex family that is quietly erased from official royal records? Or will the institution itself begin to crack under the weight of what it has tried to conceal? The crown has endured wars, scandals, and revolutions, but it has never faced scrutiny in the form of forensic science. As the tension stretches from Montecito to London, the world waits, because whatever comes next could shock everyone, and may even redefine the monarchy as we know it. But beyond DNA reports and legal arguments about born-of-the-body clauses, there's another layer to this story, a social mystery quietly unfolding in Montecito itself. In a place where celebrity sightings are practically documented in real time, where even a routine grocery trip can attract paparazzi, the Sussex children remain almost entirely unseen. Residents in the exclusive neighborhood have reportedly noted that while Harry is occasionally spotted walking the dogs and Meghan appears at local boutiques, the children are never seen at parks, elite preschools, or even the lavish birthday parties that define high society life in California. This absence has only intensified speculation. If these children represent the future of the British monarchy, why are they being kept so completely out of view, what some have described as a kind of golden cage? The contrast becomes even more striking when compared to William and Catherine's approach. Their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, are regularly seen in public settings, at school, attending sporting events, or appearing in candid family footage that feels authentic and grounded. They are being prepared for public life by actively living within it. By comparison, Archie and Lilibet are treated almost like classified entities. Critics argue this goes beyond simple parental protection. It may be a deliberate strategy to prevent any independent confirmation of their development, their appearance, or even their presence. Some claims have even surfaced suggesting that members of the Sussex's own extended circle have never met the children in person, with interactions limited to carefully controlled video calls where lighting and camera angles are tightly managed. Then there's the role of Prince William. While King Charles may still hold on to a father's instinct for reconciliation, the Prince of Wales is said to be taking a far firmer stance. According to insiders, William has already begun outlining a vision for a modernized monarchy, one that streamlines the institution and defines its future more clearly. Within that vision, the Sussex branch is reportedly minimized or removed entirely from the central royal structure. William is believed to be deeply frustrated by the ongoing ambiguity surrounding his niece and nephew. To him, the lack of clarity isn't just a family issue. It poses a direct risk to the legitimacy of his own children's future roles. And if the No Windsor Blood file truly exists, he is rumored to be among those advocating for its release once he becomes king. His priority: eliminate uncertainty and secure the line of succession. This brings attention to one of the most controversial moves by the Sussexes, the timing of their children's titles. Many were taken aback when Harry and Meghan began publicly using the titles Prince and Princess for Archie and Lilibet around the time of King Charles's coronation. To some observers, it appeared to be a calculated move, a way of forcing the palace into a difficult position. By announcing the titles through a US-based press release, they effectively challenged the monarchy to respond. Removing titles from children would create a public relations crisis, something no monarch, especially one aiming to present a streamlined and unified image, would want to face. But in pushing that decision, the Sussexes may have unintentionally triggered the very scrutiny they hoped to avoid. Reports suggest that the Royal Protocol Office expanded its investigation beyond DNA alone. Allegedly, they began reviewing medical documentation linked to Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, focusing on identifying the physicians listed as present during Lilibet's birth. In the UK, royal births involve pre-approved doctors bound by strict confidentiality at the highest level. In California, however, the healthcare system operates differently, privatized, decentralized, and subject to different disclosure standards. According to rumors, discrepancies were found in the timing of certain records, indicating that some documentation may have been finalized well after the official birth announcement. Each new leak is quickly dismissed by Sussex supporters as part of a coordinated smear campaign driven by hostile British media. But increasingly, critics argue that the most damaging questions aren't coming from tabloids, they're emerging from inconsistencies within Harry and Meghan's own narrative. When you ask for privacy but simultaneously monetize personal moments, scrutiny becomes inevitable. And what audiences notice in those carefully curated glimpses are children who appear healthy and happy, but who, some claim, don't strongly resemble the distinctive Windsor features that have defined the family for generations. In the end, the truth may turn out to be far less dramatic than theories of surrogacy or elaborate deception. It might simply be something else entirely. It could simply be that the Sussexes have constructed such an intricate wall of smoke and mirrors that the actual truth no longer holds importance, only the narrative does. But within the corridors of Westminster and the private rooms of Buckingham Palace, narrative is steadily being replaced by undeniable facts. There are reports suggesting that the Prime Minister's office has already been briefed on a contingency plan addressing potential irregularities in the line of succession. Essentially, a legal safeguard, a kind of constitutional kill switch, designed to protect the crown if it's ever discovered that someone entered the line under false circumstances. For the monarchy, it's a deeply unsettling possibility, but also a necessary precaution. As King Charles continues to settle into his reign, the so-called secret summit and the alleged DNA file are no longer just whispers or speculation. They represent strategic moves, pieces being positioned on the board ahead of what could be a decisive endgame. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the lesser-known narratives surrounding the royal family. The mystery surrounding the Sussex children is far from resolved, and with each passing day, new fragments of the story seem to emerge. So what do you think is really hidden inside that Kensington Palace file? Is it simply a matter of family privacy, or something far more explosive, a constitutional revelation waiting to surface? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into Catherine, King Charles, and the hidden layers of the House of Windsor. Until next time, keep searching for the truth behind the headlines.